It was obviously a challenging game at Newcastle, a difficult day. Lots of things have been brought up since then. What's your reaction?
We had a week with 2 good performances and 1 bad performance. So from there on we carry on. I think the team is in the good direction. I think we played very good football. We scored brilliant goals against Galatasaray and against Everton. So against Newcastle we didn't play great. We knew that. We were not happy with that performance, but although we stayed in the game till the final moment, with a little bit luck even now, we had 2 good opportunities in the end, so we could have even steal a point. So if we a little bit more determination in such a moment, I think we could have taken something with it. But still, I think we are in a good direction. We are in the ranking. Of course, we dropped, but I think we are not too far away. So we are okay.
You've mentioned previously togetherness and unity as key attributes. Do you believe that you have the buy-in required from the players to make this job, this club, successful?
Oh yes, I'm sure. But you can see, for instance, the comeback against Brentford, the Burnley game, the Fulham game. So every time the team is there, showed great character, so great determination, resilient. So we are together, and you can see you can't play such great football what we did lately if there is no unity.
Level with different situations, and I don't say that it's a good moment to go there. The most important is to be ready to compete, because we're going to face a team that is going to be tough, because for sure they want to win, and as we are a team that we want to keep our momentum, to build from Brighton and to be high on the table. And for us it's important. If we want to be in a different position, it's a game that we need to go there and try to win.
You spoke about the momentum,
yes.
And obviously off the pitch at Chelsea now things seem to be settled nicely. Not the case, it seems, at Manchester United. There's a lot of noise surrounding the club about what's going on behind the scenes.
No, I don't know. I am focused in my club, focus here. I think we need to do much better, and we need to do the thing better. I think that is a process that only I can explain, but never compare with another club. I think it's little by little. I think step by step we are building something that we believe that is going to be amazing for the future of the club. That is a period of time that always is about to settle the things and to earn the thing that we want, but never to compare with another club, because I think it's not fair.
There's reports, I don't ask you to comment on them, of a split in the dressing room, up to half the players not liking Erik Ten Hag. Do you feel sorry for him, because you've managed the egos of the biggest names in football, Mbappe, Neymar, Messi? Could you give me some advice about how to handle that?
No. I think I am only a coach that try to do my best with my coaching staff, and we are no one capable to give advices to my colleagues. I think they have experience, and of course I don't want to talk about what is going on there or in another place, because it's not my duty.
Of course, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Mauricio.
It's also worth adding about Newcastle as well that they have huge injuries to the squad. In terms of their starting 11, it's not too bad. It's just the fact that they played a really difficult game in Europe in midweek and then came off the back of it to play again at the weekend. They're going to be playing again in midweek. So they could be stretched very thin in terms of what they're asking the players to do at the moment. But even with that, Manchester United just don't look like they're clicking. Do you remember we sat here, was it 2 weeks ago, and we're like, Man United are actually the form team in the league.
Yeah.
But they were playing teams in the bottom half. They still haven't got a point against a single team in the top half of the table.
Yeah, and what I noticed in the Newcastle game is how well coached Newcastle were, and how inadequate Man United were in trying to break it down. the pressure that Newcastle put on them, and from the start of the game, you know, you've got Guimaraes pushing in on Kobe Mainu, stopping him. You got Almiron pushing in on Luke Shaw and getting pressure. They're getting Dalot getting pressure, so they constantly had to kick the ball straight into Newcastle, who then got the ball and went back at them. It was a real mauling 1-0. They really were all over them, and they had no answers for it. You looked at the players. There's not enough intensity, vigour. I don't know what they're doing tactically in respect of their system, how they're playing in their system, how they're going to try and break a system down. We saw with Jurgen Klopp, he's changed it to 4-2-3-1 when it's not going quite. He didn't even change it, Ten Hag. You know, the question in respects of blame has to lie at both doors. The players don't look like they know what they're doing now, and the manager, we're looking at tactically, it doesn't look like he knows what he's doing now.
Sure, it's very individual as well. I think when you're playing a team that's struggling, the one thing you could count on, and I'm sure you had the same, right, was that you could lean on your teammates. If I'm not playing very well, I can lean on him and they'll help me get out of it. But they're all looking after themselves, so you can't really do that. So Rashford's having a tough time. He thinks, I'll lean on Bruno. But Bruno's doing his own thing. Then Bruno's having a bad time. I'll lean on Garnacho. But he's doing his own thing. So at the minute, you've got 11 individuals out there. Yes, they're good players. But when you play against a well-coached team like Newcastle, you'll get beat every single time.
With Marcus Rashford, there's been criticism of him, which I know you've been sort of reluctant to join in on at times, Wright, because it feels sometimes that it's getting on the bandwagon. When you see the performances, this one against Newcastle, the one against Everton, is there evidence to support criticism of him?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I watched this game and watched it quite intently, and you know, yes, he's still trying to take on, but like they're just, if you look at his manner, the body language, people say, oh, here we go, the body language again. It's just, it's how you react. And I heard Jamie Carragher say something very, very interesting about being a local player and what it means to the fans. I thought it was a fantastic point that you have to, just like he did, just like Steven Gerrard did, just like Saka at Arsenal. You know, we saw Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe a couple of years ago, literally them two young players dragging that team through. And you have that responsibility whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, watching that game and a few games, and I've seen it from Anthony Martial as well, they do seem to like, there's no fight in them.
It's definitely different as well, I think. Like you say, there's a different pressure when you are local. You've carried them through a lot. You've been through this whole different era now, and you've been the player that people have looked up to. And I think the criticism in the past has focused so much off the pitch, which isn't fair at all. And I think this criticism is now about having to be a leader and having to show up to bring your teammates with you. I think Garnacho is guilty of a lot of the same things in that match as Rashford was, which was not tracking back, not picking up your runners, being too easy.
That's a young player looking at a more experienced player. And I know we're not talking about a 28, 29-year-old in Rashford, but we're talking about an experienced player flow where you've got a young player that he should be setting an example to. You look at the way Bruno, the way Bruno acts on the pitch. Ever likely you've got a young player like Garnacho who's doing that because they haven't got anybody to pull them in line or anybody to look at as an example on how you should be playing. And this is why, as much as we can look at someone like Garnacho and say he needs to liven himself up, they need to be setting a better example for some of those young players because this is something that's not synonymous with Man United. You know, the Man United that I used to play against was frightening. The intensity, the mentality, the strength of the togetherness.
The culture of the club.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the whole place is sort of being disarray, and I think you look at the whole narrative of the season, they've had times where they've got results and people think, oh, OK, this is Manchester United clicking, and then they lose, and that's almost the reality of what they are, is there doesn't seem to be a collective culture, an idea, a style of play seems to have got lost as well. And then you look at, OK, I think they've been lucky in a lot of games, relied on individual moments from big players to carry them through, when the reality of the situation is that they are still a bit messy.
Very messy.
Yeah, and I just wanted to come back to those Rashford stats that we saw, because actually his numbers in many cases are up. on
did look
last
at that and
season.
think, is that right?
Yeah, no, that is the right way round. That's why I wanted to come back to it, because he's covering more distance. He's trying more. You know, he's shooting more. They're not on target, but there's not really that much in there. And it's a couple of goals compared to 4, 1 assist compared to 2. There's not that much in it, really.
What were you also about Rashford from last season, though? A lot of his work kicked in after the World Cup, and that's where we started to
because he hit form in that World Cup and carried it through. And he's had injury issues, but I do think he's a very form player. He needs that to carry him through. He needs to be in a good place. And when he gets out of it, it can be really hard for him to get it back.
You look at the team, and you can look at that team as a collective, and look at someone like Rashford. And when you look at Man United, a lot of their stuff comes down to they do need individuals, whether it's on the wing, whether it's Garnacho, whether it's Rashford, to actually do something, make something happen, create and then something happen, instead of it being done through building up through the team. This is why I think everybody was so excited about Kobbie Mainoo, because now we're looking at a midfield player who seems to be somebody who can manage the game, get the ball, stay on the ball so people can make moves off of him. Bruno could do stuff off of him and he can be the anchor. But what happened with him in Newcastle, which again Eddie Howe's got to take a lot of credit for, is he just got Grammari's, go and mark him. And so that was him negated. So then what happens is that when Man United are trying to play out Kells, everybody's taken. So then they launched the ball back to Newcastle and took them on. And like I said earlier on, he never tried to change it. And I'm thinking to myself, when are you going to change something, Ten Hag? Well, you've got to do something. You can't just carry on like this, hoping that somebody individually is going to pull you out of it, because it looked really, really desperate.
And obviously with Mainoo being a young, inexperienced player, he's not going to have had that experience at Premier League level to be able to deal with having someone like Bruno Guimaraes just on him.
That's why he needs somebody to lean
time.
on, and a more experienced player to lean on. And he hasn't got that at the minute, unfortunately. I mean, he's going to be a top player. We can see that already. But you need to, at times, as a young player, to lean on the more senior players to go, listen, it's a bit more difficult. What do I do in this scenario? And they haven't got that at the minute. Everyone's trying to look after themselves, so it's a difficult place to be in. And
it's another difficult game for Manchester United coming up in this round of midweek matches in the Premier League, because Manchester United are at Old Trafford up against Chelsea on Wednesday night as part of a full programme of games that are taking place in midweek. There's some really interesting ones in there. Manchester City going to Aston Villa could be a crucial one. Big game at the bottom, and for Newcastle as well when Everton face them. Everton desperate for points. Newcastle, of course, looking to keep pace at the top end of the table. And Tottenham looking to build on their mini resurgence following up a draw against Manchester City. They will hope with a win against West Ham in what is always a very hotly contested encounter, this one taking place at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then, of course, there's another round of games at the weekend, which we will be reflecting on at the same time next week. For now, though, thank you very much to Darren. Thank you very much to Flo. Enjoy this week and next weekend's games in the Premier League, and we'll see you same time next week.
Well, after the draw in Paris and the win yesterday, a good few days for Newcastle United. And for Anthony Gordon, the best thing, Don, is, as you can see there, adding goals to his undoubted ability now. And those are home goals. Look at who scored them against: Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United.
4 games in a row, I think, since Shearer. I think what you're seeing from Anthony Gordon, you see a player that looks confident. He's really fit. He's staying away from injuries. He's obviously a talent. We knew the talent was there when he was playing at Everton, but they've spotted